pregame.com.
Sunday morning, the Chicago Bears visit the Minnesota Vikings. These two teams played just a couple of weeks ago. The Bears a 3-point favorite, the total 39.5. I'm going with the Vikings in this game. This is a number and injury game for me. I think the 3 gives you value on a home team who's coming off a loss. They played this team 2 weeks ago. I think that gives you a little extra motivation. You don't have to study the tapes all that well because you just got off them a couple weeks back. This Chicago Bear team has been decimated by injuries the last 2 weeks. We just got word today, Brian Urlacher now out, probably for 3 weeks. I mean, he's the biggest key to the defense, of course. But even Julius Peppers has not played all that well the last couple of weeks. The offensive line has given the Bears a ton of trouble.
Yeah.
Actually played okay last week, but you know how that is. Sometimes that first week after the injury, your troops rally. Now we got the second week. The starting guards are still out. I think there's 6 or 7 key injuries on this Chicago Bears team. Like I said, this is not a game where you can run through all the numbers and tell you how great the Vikings are. However, getting the +3 with a very injured Chicago Bears team, I think you got value on the dog. I'm going to take the +3. VR.
I made the line 1.5, so the value to me is on Minnesota. In fact, I'd sprinkle a little something on the money line for sure. Here's the thing. If you look at what happened, these two teams just played 2 weeks ago. 28-10. So you know that the money's going to come in on Chicago here, especially coming off that loss against Seattle. I think the public's going to back them in this spot. So you know you're getting an inflated price. That's always a good thing. I myself, Chris, I like the over a lot in this game. If you look at how these two teams scored the last couple weeks, the perception is low scoring, and that's usually going to give you a better price on the total. But if you look at that first game, both teams rushed for over 110 yards, both of them, but neither of them passed for 200. And I think they're much more capable of throwing the ball, having more success throwing. So I think we're going to get a much higher scoring game than last time. Remember, Chicago put up 28. It was Minnesota that couldn't put up points. And you're getting a number of less than 40. To me, I like the over, and I like Minnesota as well. So I'm going to sprinkle a little something on the money line, and I'm probably going to have some money on the over as well.
Chuck, I know you're a Chicago guy, but before we go to you, I want to point out 2 things here. You talked about the Bears and their defense is not quite what it was.
Exactly.
They had the first 6 games, the Bears had 11 sacks. The last 6 games, they have had, they had 21 sacks the first 6 games, 11 sacks in the last 6 games.
And that's huge for Ponder.
Well, that is. And I was going to say, and you look back at that last game, the Bears allowed 1 sack, and they had 2 sacks of their own on Ponder. So their play on that defensive line has definitely dropped off. I'm sorry, Chuck Edel.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on Minnesota. I felt like the Bears team has been a drop overrated all year. Now, they're coming off that defense let Seattle go right down the field in crunch time there last week to get the win. Then, of course, it goes in overtime, and Seattle gets the touchdown overtime. One thing that you brought up I think is really key in this game is the offensive line. This Cutler's one of those guys, when you put pressure on him, he kind of crawls back to the womb. He's not really good when you put a lot of pressure when he gets knocked down. You give him time, he'll pick you apart, but you put pressure. Now this offensive line for the Bears, Jared Allen might have a field day. I mean, we know he knocked out one of the offensive linemen in the last time they played. That's why one of them's missing right now. But the offensive line, Urlacher, the leader of the defense, he's out. He's out with a bad hamstring. Their defense has been banged up. Tillman, you mentioned Peppers. I think it's a really good spot here, and for Minnesota, I think they might be a little bit more motivated in the game as well.
2 more notes I want to make real quick. 4 starters for the Bears, including Urlacher, did not finish their last game against Seattle. And do you know in the last 6 games, you know what Adrian Peterson is averaging per attempt?
Forget about it.
7.8 yards per attempt.
They should have covered against the Packers guy.
Oh, they really should.
Missed a field goal there.
They really should have.
I got a little spite when I talked about it because I had Minnesota. But the another thing, Hester, he's concussion. I mean, there's a lot.
Oh, he's out.
Yeah, there's a lot of key guys out for the Bears there.
Almost every guy with a name that you recognize, except for Peppers, who's going to play, but he's not playing that.
Forte's not even 100%. He played last week, but he's got the bad ankle.
Okay, we've talked about it. Let's go ahead and make it official. I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings +3 against the Chicago Bears this coming week. Again, it's hard to go through all the stats and tell you why I'm going to play this, but I'm getting +3 at home against a very injured Chicago Bear team in a division rivalry. The Bears beat them 2 weeks ago, 28-10. I think Minnesota comes back, plays very well. I think they get the dough with the +3. And like VR says, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on the money line as well.
Don't be shy. And listen, if you just look at what the line was in that game, forget the final score. Because they both rushed, like I said, for this almost the same yardage. They both threw for almost the same yardage. It was just a couple plays here and there that was all the difference, turnover, stuff like that. But Chicago was a 6.5-point home favorite. This line just doesn't add up. They should be a 3-point road favorite.
I know you're the market watcher.
That's about a 9.5, 10-point adjustment.
That's a very good point.
It's not justified at all. Based on that line, this should be a pick 'em.
Close maybe a little higher because Cutler.
Right. But what it opened, what it was at, what the odds makers put out, the market's going to decide where it goes. But I definitely think based on that alone, this is just too big of an adjustment.
Well, I would tell you to grab the 3 now.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not going up. It's not going up.
No.
All right, coming up next, we're going to hear from Chuck Edel. He's going to talk about the Browns and the Kansas City Chiefs. You can see all of
I'm sorry, man.
I know where you're going. There's no college. You gotta go.
Since there's no Sun Belt Conference, he's got to go to the Browns in Kansas City.
I think Montana's playing. Montana
Jacksonville
State.
Not playing?
I think they're off. Wait till we get to college basketball. We'll see what he comes up with.
I can't wait.
We'll pull out some William and Mary's.
Sam Houston's of the world.
You can see all our videos at pregame.tv. Thanks, VR.